Hi friends, it's Katie back with another Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. Kind of a short one this week. We actually only watched 4 movies this week. The giant snowstorm last week knocked out internet to our block. Actually, I should say knocked over a tree, and the tree knocked out the internet connection for our entire block, multiple blocks around our house. So we weren't able to stream movies for a couple of days. And we thought about getting out the VCR and hooking it up and watching some VHS tapes, but we actually just decided to play some family games those nights instead. So as a result, a little bit shorter movie roundup for this week, but we watched some fun ones. We started the week with the 2018 science fiction film Prospect, directed by Zeke Earl and Chris Caldwell. This was a pretty interesting one. It was a story about a teenage girl and her dad who were mining for precious gems on like an alien planet, or maybe it was an alien moon. And the planet or moon that they were on had a toxic atmosphere, or like a poison forest. It kind of reminded me of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. The characters had to wear a breathing apparatus, but not like a spacesuit type of breathing apparatus. It was more like a heavy-duty filter situation so that they weren't breathing the gunk that was floating around in the air in this alien forest. And they're trying to find these gems, which are hidden inside of a creature, which is burrowed into the ground. So there's kind of a very convoluted mining situation that they had to do to get the gems. But it was a pretty cool setup for a movie. You've got the dad and the daughter, they're out there to do their mining thing. They're looking for some mythical cache of just so much of this mystery gem. I can't remember what they called it in the movie, called the Queen's Lair. There's, heard tell, these rumors of the Queen's Lair, and somebody has found it. And so they've landed on this alien landscape, again, planet or moon, not sure, to try and find the Queen's Lair. But of course, there are other miners and mercenaries who are also there looking for this, great treasure trove of gemstones that they could mine. And the characters come into conflict with one another, as you would expect. I don't want to say too much more about the plot than that. This was a really fun one, though. It was unexpected. I think I got the suggestion off of one of the movie subreddits that I read, and it was really good. We had a great time watching it. Great acting from all of the actors, but particularly from the teen girl who plays the lead. I can't remember her name, sorry. Good writing. There were a couple places where it got a little confusing because there wasn't enough exposition, but I actually prefer that to these movies where they just spell out every single thing for you and there's nothing for you to really figure out on your own. So again, some of the mining stuff was a little convoluted, but other than that, it was pretty straightforward storytelling, and a few gaps in there for you to mentally fill in. Like I said, I like that. It looked really cool. They had a great style to the spacecraft, the outfits that the characters were wearing. They had these like emergency med kits that they were using when someone got injured, which were pretty cool the way that they worked. Just a really interesting vision of a space-based future with some different aesthetic stuff that I wasn't exactly expecting. So I really appreciated that. I liked the way the story unfolded. It was well-paced. The characters were pretty interesting. All around, a pretty good movie. We were definitely pleased with that one. And there was actually not too much bad CGI in this movie. For a movie that came out in 2018 that takes place on another planet, I was impressed with how low the amount of computer graphics was going on in this movie. They did have the CGI fill-in was like the stuff, the toxic particles that were floating around in the forest that our heroes didn't want to breathe, which is a little bit annoying. It's just a lot on screen at once, kind of floating around and distracting you. But I guess it was important because it was there to remind you that this is a toxic forest and we can't breathe it. But other than that, it seemed like almost all the other effects that they were doing were practical stuff, which always looks better to me. And, it ages really well. So Prospect, again, came out in 2018. solid science fiction space mining story with a very personal component, father-daughter team, and, kind of told from the perspective of a teen girl, which you don't normally get in your space mining movies. So that was a fun one. The next night after that, we watched a movie called Curse of the Demon, also known as Night of the Demon. It's a British film. It was released as Night of the Demon in the UK, and it was released as Curse of the Demon in the USA. It's from 1957, directed by a Frenchman named Jacques Tourneur. This was an interesting one. I chose this one. Sean and I just had our wedding anniversary, and I bought him a gift online, and part of the listing for the gift was that this object was possibly haunted, which I thought was so cool. So of course I had to get it for him, and this set off an entire discussion between me and the kids about haunted objects and what happens if you bring a possibly haunted object into your home. And Jimmy asked to watch a movie about a haunted object for his pick of Cinema Club. And so I looked up, okay, give me a list of movies about haunted objects. And it was pretty fun. We got a cool list off the internet. We had already seen most of the haunted object movies, and none of the movies on the list included haunted houses. I guess a house is too big to be an object. But it included things like Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? The Ark itself, and a bunch of other things that, of course, I'm completely blanking out on right now. But included on the list was this film, Curse of the Demon, because one of the main plot points in the movie is that there is a piece of parchment with like an incantation in runic writing on it. And if you can slip the haunted rune-covered parchment into somebody else's hands, you can put the curse of the demon on them. What is the curse of the demon? Well, a demon is going to show up and kill you at a specific time and date, and it's going to look like an accident to everybody else. So the film opens with a guy getting killed by the curse of the demon right away, and they show you full frontal monster. They give you what the demon looks like in the first 10 minutes of the movie, which is pretty unexpected, especially for a film from 1957. And I found out in my research that the director actually didn't ever want to show the demon in the movie, and that decision was made by the producer over his head. So, okay. I thought that it was kind of cheesy when they put the demon in, but it also added to the story a little bit. So I'm kind of both ways about it. Like, I could see how the movie could have been without actually showing us the demon, but I also kind of liked that we did get to see him. The basic plot of the movie is there is an American psychologist who's traveled to England to investigate this satanic cult. And the guy who dies at the very beginning of the movie, it was also investigating the satanic cult. So, some mysterious things are afoot. And our hero, the main psychologist guy, is a real skeptic. He doesn't want to believe in any demonic forces or any kind of ESP or anything like that. But he gets his mind changed, of course, over the course of the film as he realizes that he might be dealing with some unseen cosmic forces that are beyond the realm of the practical, cynical person, if you will. Again, don't want to say too much about the plot. I just want to get you guys interested in this one if I can. It was really fun. It was pretty scary for a 1957 film, I have to say. Usually the older you go back, kind of the less scary some of these films get. But this one was pretty scary to me, but it was also pretty fun. So if you're a fan of older horror, if you're a fan of stories featuring haunted objects and mysterious deaths and demons and curses of demons, you're going to want to check out Curse of the Demon. I have heard that Night of the Demon, which again is the British release, has a slightly different ending to it. I have not seen that one, so I don't know. But if you like Curse of the Demon and you're curious and you wind up watching the other one and compare them, let me know, because I'm curious if I should watch the other one also. I'm not going to watch it right now because I just watched the first one, but could be cool to kind of compare those two different releases. The next night after that, we watched Possessor. That is a 2020 film directed by Brandon Cronenberg. And if that name sounds familiar, yes, he is David Cronenberg's son. Possessor has Brandon Cronenberg following right in his dad's footsteps with a very squeamish inducing sci-fi horror film full of gory body horror stuff that was really had me just like, ooh. There were a couple of shots in this film where I actually was watching with my hands over my eyes or telling the kids, let me know when this shot is over, because it was just a little too much for me. So I was talking to my mom on the phone this morning. Hi, Mom, if you're watching this video. And I gave her the breakdown of the plot, but then basically told her she should not watch this movie at all because it's way too much gore for her. She definitely doesn't like the gory stuff that the kids and I like to watch. So other than the gore, it's a really solid science fiction horror film. The basic plot is we're following a woman. Her last name is Voss. I can't remember what her first name is. But she is a hitman who uses a mind control technology to basically possess the body of another person, and then uses that person's body to go out and do the hit on whoever she's been hired to kill. And then she tells the people, the operators back at the place where her body is lying down on a table with this, headset thing on so that she can do the mind control thing. She tells them to pull her out, and then she has the body that she's controlling commit suicide to end the possession session, if you will. The movie opens up with her completing a hit and then being interviewed by her boss. And she's clearly showing signs of, mental trauma from having done this possession technique too many times. She's a really good hitman, but she's also starting to lose it because of inhabiting too many other people's bodies and, whatever the side effects of doing this type of possession work wind up being. So the film deals a lot with kind of the ideas around identity and self and loss of identity and self. Her boss is trying to convince her to cut ties with her. She's separated from her husband and they have a kid, and she's very cold and detached from them. It implied that it's because of this work that she's been doing. She's, drifted away from the wife and mother role just into the role of this psychopathic assassin who uses this possession technique. Her boss is basically grooming her to take over from the boss, and wants her to just completely cut ties with her family, and is pushing her more into doing the work instead of paying attention to her family. So of course, great like work family tug of war theme going on there. And she signs up for a job that's a really, really important one. And of course, things start to go sideways. She's just been doing it too long and her brain is messed up. The guy who she attempts to possess has some level of control still while she's trying to be in control of his mind. And things get, they go a little crazy because of it. It was a really strong film, really good writing, really good directing, great acting from both of the principal actors. The female actor who plays Agent Voss, again, I don't know if she's an agent, but whatever you want to call her. And then the guy who played the man that she was possessing, I apologize, I didn't write down either of their names in my notes, but he did such a great job acting as if he was being possessed by someone else that I was watching him, it's him being possessed by her, but I kept using female pronouns when I was looking at this male character on screen because he sold it so well that it wasn't him, that it was someone else, a foreigner inhabiting his body. It was pretty great, pretty well done. There's some weird computer animation stuff in this one. It's not as glaringly bad as some other movies that I'll talk about next. But interesting kind of dream sequence or sort of sequences of this kind of liminal space within this guy's mind that's being occupied by both him and her at the same time, and how they wind up interacting with each other and kind of bleeding together into one person or not as the story moves on. Some very interesting visual stuff. Just a great film. We really had fun watching it. I recommend it basically without reservation, but again, tons of body horror, gory shots in this film. So if you are sensitive to that type of stuff, you don't want to watch this film at all. It's definitely not for you. If gory stuff, body horror stuff doesn't bug you, yes, you do want to see this film because it's really good. It's really smart. And it has a really, really satisfying ending. I thoroughly enjoyed the ending of this film. I saw on some forums, there was a lot of people complaining about the ending, but I think they maybe didn't get it. I hate to say that because it makes me sound like I'm being a little snotty, but I think if you get the movie, the ending is awesome. So that's my opinion about Possessor from 2020. Check it out. Again, if you can handle gore. That's the caveat on that one. Speaking of gore, let's get to our fourth and final movie of this Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. Maybe you guys saw that they made a new Mortal Kombat movie, and maybe you saw the awesome trailer for the new Mortal Kombat movie this week. We all watched the trailer the day it came out and got really excited to watch the new Mortal Kombat movie. All of us came away with the same impression, which is this movie looks like it is stupid and fun. So I'm pretty excited to watch the new Mortal Kombat movie, especially because it looks appropriately violent. So I said to the kids, if we're going to watch the new Mortal Kombat movie, we have to go back and watch the original Mortal Kombat movie first. So the last movie that we watched this week was the 1995 Mortal Kombat, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. What can I say about this film? I saw it when it first came out. I haven't watched it in the 25 years in between then and now. And then I watched it last night with my kids. It's just as cheesy and awful and not violent enough as it always was. This movie is pretty much terrible, you guys. I was not a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I was a little too old for it when it first came out, the video game. And when the movie came out, my impression was my thinking was like, well, there's Big Trouble in Little China, and then they ripped off the characters from Big Trouble in Little China to make the Mortal Kombat game. And then they turned around and made a terrible Mortal Kombat movie based on the game. Why don't you just watch Big Trouble in Little China instead? You're going to get the best parts of this thing. The Mortal Kombat movie is so bad, you guys. It's got horrible acting, horrible writing, fight choreography. It's not like great. I mean, like any halfway decent kung fu movie has better fight choreography than this movie. The characters are uninteresting. They don't make you care about them at all. There's a bunch of massive plot holes, and it's riddled with absolutely horrendous mid-90s CGI. I mean, just laughably awful CGI. And then on top of everything else, it's not violent. It's called Mortal Kombat. You're supposed to be battling to the death. In the video game, they get the finishing move where the guy gets his spine ripped out of his body. In the movie, they sign these guys up to go to a Mortal Kombat tournament. And at the tournament, when someone gets defeated, instead of finish him, the guy who organized the tournament comes over and he's like, now I'm going to suck up your soul. And he goes, and then the person's like dead. It makes no sense. It doesn't work at all. It's so dumbed down, not dumbed down, pacified. It's a movie called Mortal Kombat about a video game called Mortal Kombat, where the point is you kill your enemy in the combat gruesomely. Like, this is so lame. It was so stupid. And they really wasted Scorpion and Sub-Zero as characters in the original Mortal Kombat movie. Like, they're over in 2 seconds. They're not powerful at all. Like, what? It's just bad. That said, I am looking forward to the new one. I know it's going to be stupid. It's going to be so dumb, but it looks appropriately violent. And it's chock full of CGI, but it's brand new CGI that actually looks pretty good. So I'm hopeful about the new one. I definitely did not enjoy watching the old one. And what is up with Christopher Lambert's voice that he's doing in the original movie. It's like he couldn't decide what he was supposed to sound like, and it changes from scene to scene. Forget about that original Mortal Kombat movie. You don't need to watch it. We could skip to the new one. I'm not recommending the new one because I haven't seen it, but I'm curious about the new one. But man, don't feel the need to go back and watch that 1995 Mortal Kombat unless you are just like the biggest and most diehard fan of this franchise, then maybe. But it was just so disappointing. There's that one song in the movie that's good. That's like a saving grace of the whole thing. But like other than that, forget about this movie. All right, that's it. I'm going to end there. That's the last movie we watched this week. As usual, I would love to hear about what movies you've been watching this week. And if you have any recommendations for us, that would be awesome. I'll be back in a few more days with another episode of my vlog. Until then, everybody, stay safe and take care out there. And as usual, thanks so much for watching.